What is your motivation in running for the state legislature in Florida?
So it's about providing access to opportunity to all Floridians by making sure the resources that are available to Floridians are well advertised, well supported, well funded, and well integrated into the mainstream. I personally chose to run because I have been involved in Democratic politics for 4 years and single issue advocacy for over a decade. And I haven't been seeing the results that I've wanted to get from various levels of engagement, from nonprofit advocacy to lobbying in Tallahassee. And so I just came to the conclusion that the next logical step for me to influence change in the community around me is to run for office.
And my next question is, small businesses are the engine of growth and innovations, and Indian Americans have a very high number of small businesses in high-tech, biotech, renewable energy, etc. Could you speak a little bit as to what steps you will take to protect the interest of these small businesses?
50% of the lodging institutions in the country are owned or partially owned by Indian Americans. So it's very important for me to invest in Florida tourism and in strengthening the hotel industry while making sure that we work collaboratively with them to enact best management practices for environmental friendliness and for, ecological friendliness. Beyond that, I just want to mention that my dad had a gas station growing up, and my mom had multiple physical therapy offices. So I saw firsthand them move from a 2-bedroom apartment to a small home to a house right outside of the country club, and whatever else as they, through their hard work, establish their businesses. So I fully understand and respect the importance of small businesses, especially to our community. One of the issues facing specifically Desi liquor store owners here in Florida is that Walmart and other big box corporations are doing their best to make it to where they can sell liquor on the beer and wine aisle, or even you can purchase hard liquor in a 7-Eleven. This would decimate the liquor store industry because most people come to Florida and they're on the beach and they're like, oh, I want, to get a drink going back to the hotel or get something, and they'll walk by, one of these locally owned liquor stores or a locally franchised ABC. If this were the case, then that would decimate all of these businesses. So this is something that I've already declared that I'm in support of the Indian community with, and it's initiatives like this that I want to advance to make sure that our voices are heard. As when elected, hopefully I'd be the first Desi representative, South Asian representative in the Florida legislature. So for the first time, we'd have this seat at the table.
Wow, yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much for addressing the question so directly. My next one is, what do you think about the current state of US-India relationship?
So, as far as the state of U.S.-India relations, over the course of the current president and the past 2 presidents, relations have improved beyond, what we've had ever in history. Coming from a time where there was a judge in California in the early 20th century who banned people from the subcontinent from moving here. And that had to be undone through a court case, all the way from then to now, where there is dire need here in the United States for qualified professionals that need to come here and work in our information technology, fulfill our shortage of medical professionals, join in and, all sorts of infrastructure levels in terms of engineering experience. And so making sure that there is equity in the process of getting qualified, talented immigrants here in the States is a vested interest that I have. But however, as a state legislator, my jurisdiction would not lead to ramifications of international policy. However, I would always, and of course, advocate for making sure that there is equity, specifically in the H-1B visa program for Indian American professionals trying to move to the States.
Yeah, definitely. That's very true. And so you actually kind of touched on my next point, which is what are your views on immigration reform?
The University of Florida, which has one of the top 3 Indian American populations of any public institution in the state of Florida, owing to our extensive computer science and information technology and engineering and basically just STEM programming. One of the issues that I see is that we get these amazing quality, talented students that come here on their student visa, and then we educate them. We make sure they're equipped with a world-class education, a world-class understanding of their field, and then we ship them back to their country. I think that it's really important that we create a pathway to getting the people, the human investment that we make here through our education system to pay it back here, creating a pathway from student visa to green card. And then beyond that, where the H-1B visa program is concerned, I am a huge advocate for the H-1B visa program, because while I was born here, my mom came here on an H-1B. She was an OTRL, and the program is how so many members of our community are here, and how so many members of our community give back to the greater American community. So I'm a fan of streamlining the immigration process to make it easier for people who come here to, make a better quality of life for themselves, but simultaneously have been reinvesting in their communities, make it easier for them to get their citizenship and get their status here as best they can.
Just going off of that, what issues do you see being important to the Indian American community, and how do you see yourself engaging with these issues?
So in Florida, the most surprisingly, I thought it would be, specific issues pertaining to small business interests or issues with protections relating to targeted hate crimes and whatever else. But as I have spoken with members of various Gujarati Samaj, Sindhi Samaj, Indian associations, and the Indian Chambers of Commerce, everyone's primary concern here in Florida is guns in schools, making sure that there are not firearms in K-12 education centers and keeping guns off campus. But beyond that, to the specifics, there's a lot of concern here in the state of Florida amongst the Indian community with the education system, the way that we are gutting the funding of it, and the way in which their children are having a harder and harder time getting a quality education through the same programs and same institutions which were so well better funded for their older siblings or their older cousins. And so making sure that we reinvest in the education system and put together pathways to careers rather than pathways to lifetimes of debt. We are the model minority, as everyone likes to say, and we do have a lot of affluence, but that still does not mean that it's easy for all Indian parents to send their children to vocational programs or college or even private school. And so making sure that through the resources that are available in the legislature, we give this access to opportunity to these parents and to these children.
Yeah, definitely. That's very true. Well spoken. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Of course.
And then just one last thing. What future impact do you see Indians and Indian Americans making on the political process? People like yourself. What more can Indian Americans do to get involved in the democratic process?
Kamala Harris can run for president. We can increase the number of Indian American members of Congress from 5 to 7, anywhere from 5 to 8, actually, in this upcoming year. There's Dr. Tiperneni, who's running in Arizona. There's Sanjay Patel, who's running down in the Space Coast. And there are 3 or 4 other amazing candidates for Congress that I met at the Impact Fund event in D.C. And so making sure that we continue to run. But beyond that, encouraging our because that's really important. For me, I joined College Democrats as a freshman because I saw one Desi student who was like, do you want to get involved in politics? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know how my parents will feel. I don't know how, the community will, if I will be allowed to pursue this. And so he created that space for me in College Democrats. And, before I had that personal connection of someone inviting me into the circle of Democratic politics, my only example of an Indian being involved in politics was Bobby Jindal, who, basically tried to erase his entire Indian identity down to his official state portrait. Making sure that we have responsible elected officials who are Desi that young kids can look up to, making sure that we get young kids who want to pursue political science, who want to pursue philosophy and go to law school or go to master's in political campaigning programs, making sure that we do that as a community. I know that that's not something that the legislature does, but I feel like we internally have the power to change this.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think people like you are changing that, giving others something to look up to. So thank you so much for doing what you do, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.